Hey, Randy, I know you're not here right now, but I'm just giving you a shout out. It's Bruce Kulick, and thanks for your support through the years of my KISS history, or history, shall I say.
The 25th Hour Radio Show. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the 25th Hour Radio Show today. On the phone, I have musician Bruce Kulick. Now, from what I've seen in other interviews, Bruce seems like a pretty nice guy, but he sure does play a mean guitar. Bruce, what's up, buddy? Thanks for being on the show.
Well, thank you for the introduction. Yes, I can be polite. That's true, and I'm proud to be a working musician. And it's been all these years of playing guitar for people and traveling and everything. It's pretty exciting. It really is.
Bruce, if you don't mind, let's take a trip back in time, just to give my listeners a brief history lesson about yourself. At what time period in your life did music really take a hold of you, and what drove you to want to pursue learning to play the guitar in the first place?
Well, it was a couple of things. First, like a lot of people, seeing the Beatles on TV, I was like 10 years old, and there they were, and that changed my world. But my brother already was playing guitar, and my brother was a little older, and the guitar really just kind of worked for me. It kind of felt natural in my hand, and I was very happy to be trying out, chords and the explosion of the entire British invasion of music and what came from the Beatles and everything that came out of England. And then, of course, guitarists like Jimi Hendrix, who, even though he was U.S. born, he had to go all the way to England to make it. All that was it was a very fruitful time for really amazing music. Culture was changing, people were growing their hair and everything, and from every element of society. Of course, there was a lot of crazy things going on, Vietnam and all that, but the 60s were just so exciting for me to be loving music and having a guitar in my hand, and I've never stopped.
Anyone who has ever, quote, unquote, made it in the business always had that one instance in their career that they would consider their big break. What would you consider your big break to be that helped you to jumpstart your musical journey?
Well, look, I have a few factors in it. Obviously, in a very simple way, being asked to be the lead guitarist of KISS and being there for 12 years is a huge break. That's pretty obvious. Because those kind of opportunities of being involved with a band that's famous worldwide, with so many adoring fans was especially fortunate for me. I will add that being in New York helped. That's where they were. Okay, obviously getting a good reputation, and then when they did call me, I was prepared and ready. I've always said that most people that are very successful or have had some notoriety, they were ready and had the ability to do the right thing when opportunity was banging on their door, So I was ready, and I was very fortunate to get the opportunity, but fortunately everything that I did prior to that kind of prepared me for it.
Okay, let's start with KISS. What was the process there that led you to becoming the lead guitarist for them? I mean, how did you get that gig?
Well, it first started with a session for Paul when they were doing Animalize. He knew that I was Bob's younger brother, and he already used my brother on some things like Alive 2 and his solo record in '78. But now it's 1984, and they're recording Animalize, and Vinnie Vincent wasn't going to be the guitarist. And even though they hired this guy, Mark St. John, that was a hotshot, speedy guitar player, it just turned into a situation where I think maybe that's when Mark started to have his illness, or they weren't happy with what he did. I'm not really sure. But he asked me to be ghost guitar player on on particularly one song and a little bit on another one from the Animalize record. Before I left, he said, "Don't cut your hair." I didn't know what that meant. I didn't realize there may be a bigger opportunity. But sure enough, within a few months, I get the phone call saying, like, "Hey, Barksdale, we want you to fill in for 2 to 6 weeks." And then, of course, that turned into 12 years. It was quite remarkable.
Yeah, and just for curiosity's sake, who was the first person you called or let know that, hey, guess what I'm doing now?
Well, obviously my brother was, had to be at the top of the list because he always told them, he always kind of felt like I should have that shot to be in the band. He knew that I would be valuable to them. And but you know, they had to get to that process on their own.
Yeah, like you said, you continued to be the lead guitarist for Kiss for 12 years before you left the band. Bruce, 12 years is a long time. What was the exit on good or bad terms?
Well, look, the exit was really, you know, even though I put out a statement saying that I left the band, the truth was they went into makeup. They didn't know how it would go. I knew it would be very successful, but they didn't really even think that, you know, Ace and Peter would last a year, or that the makeup phenomenon would continue, you know. So they took care of me for a year, which I was very grateful for. So I was still getting a paycheck, but it was pretty clear with them selling out stadiums and the makeup being the perfect timing. It was like Star Wars coming back again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, just so you don't ask, I may as well tell you. And obviously, when there were problems with Ace, you know, this guy Tommy Thayer, who's a fine guitarist and a friend of mine, was there working for the band just in case, as well as the other, you know, relationship that he had with the band, being someone that could travel with them and be a road manager and all. And sure enough, Ace didn't show up for a few things, and the next thing you knew, it just made sense for Tommy to be the spaceman as opposed to me. I had my own identity. I wasn't told to play exactly like Ace in my 12 years, you know, and to suddenly put me into the spaceman outfit. I'm not telling you I wouldn't have considered the job if you're giving me a contract, and I know I'm going to be in the band again because I do miss playing with the guys and I love that music. But if I had to like completely ignore everything I did in the past, that wouldn't feel too good.
You know, and I know it wasn't overnight, and you had a few years in between, but that leads us up to you joining Grand Funk Railroad. And to me, that shows the versatility you have as a guitar player as well as an entertainer on stage. Am I correct in saying that? Was it an easy transition for you, or a welcome transition?
Yeah, very very much so. You got to remember, before Kiss, I had a band with Michael Bolton. I did sessions for people like Billy Squier. I toured the world with Meatloaf. All that is rock music, but it's not Kiss necessarily. And then again, Kiss is known for Forever and War Machine and Unholy. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So Grand Funk's a little older, but still based on a really good rock and roll. And I do consider myself a versatile guitar player, so it wasn't a big challenge for me. The most important thing was that like a lot of people out there who are talented don't always understand, well, you got to be talented to have a career in music, but you also have to know how to work with people, you know, and I think I knew how to work with them, and it's been 15 years now, which is pretty remarkable too.
Yeah, and everyone knows music is a tough business. There's not too many bands that can stand the test of time. You know, Kiss is one of them. Grand Funk Railroad, definitely another. What is it about these bands and their music that transcends generation after generation and keeps the music fresh in the listener's mind, you think?
Well, look, both of them have big names, and even if you're not putting out current product, the name represents some terrific songs that, as far as I'm concerned, they're not going to go away. You know, they're not going to leave our collective consciousness. You know, I mean, I'll go out one day, like say, and do some errands at the grocery store, and you know, the convenience shop, whatever, shopping, and then I'll hear a Meatloaf song, I'll hear a Michael Bolton on the radio, I'll hear Kiss, and I'll hear a Grand Funk song. It's very spooky when it happens, but it happens because that stuff is part of our culture, you know, and it means a lot. It really means a lot, and that's why, even though Ace was iconic with Kiss, and Ace is an icon in the guitar world of lead guitar players, he's not going to be as big as Kiss. Kiss trumps all that. Grand Funk, the same thing. You know, the name represents something, you know. Mm-hmm. And I'm very fortunate I was part of all those things, you know.
And like I mentioned earlier, you have your own side projects. You have your own solo projects that you do. Mm-hmm. To me, it seems like there's no rest for you, man. You're a perfect example of, if you love what you do, you won't work a day in your life. Is that how you see it? Is that how you've viewed your career so far?
I guess the work part of it, though, is each thing I do have to prep for, and that takes some detail. And you got to make sure, all right, if I'm going to do the rock and roll fantasy camp, I got to prepare those songs. And what gear should I bring? And you follow what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. If I'm going to go to Mexico to do a couple of club gigs with a band that I'm going to meet there, all right, I got to make sure I send them things. So those things are work, if you get what I mean. But it is all part of my career. The travel part's probably the worst. As you know, traveling is never a fun thing for anybody. But you have to get there to perform for people. So I do the best I can with that. But it is true in a way that my life, even when I'm home a day, I could be doing work, but I do love that everything I'm doing, I'm trying to further things that represent my career and bring my music to people. The solo albums are a labor of love, even though, I was able to make some money from them, but it's been much more about sharing the creative aspect of my career, not like, oh yeah, I'm going to get $1 million from this. It's never been that way. It's always been about playing my guitar and knowing that people really do enjoy to hear me play.
Now, you mentioned the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. Is there any other current things you're working on at the moment that's keeping you busy?
Well, the holidays are coming, so I am kind of winding down. So I'm doing a lot of tidy work. There's a lot of different ways that you can be sure that you're being paid on all your solo albums. So I know I have stuff to do to take care of that. I am planning on offering things in a wider way from my solo records and my my product instead of just iTunes and my website. So I'm looking at doing things with Amazon and having a presence on eBay with those things. But Grand Funk still has 3 gigs in December, so I'm busy. And we were doing a big cruise in January, so there'll be more of the gigging. But I do have some thoughts about a new record in 2016. It's too early to talk about the details, but at least I started some conversations with some people that I really respect that could help complement me. And unfortunately, the next fantasy camp, which happens to be back in LA again, that has some killer guitar players as special guests. I have a gig with Grand Funk, so I won't be able to be there for that camp and be a counselor. And I do enjoy doing those. They're really, really a lot of fun.
So where can my listeners go to get more information about you and what you're up to, such as website and social media?
Yeah, well, the website's really easy. It's Kulick, Kulick.net, okay? And actually, just Google my name. It's going to come up. And my Facebook's really popular with the official Bruce Kulick, does very well. I got 168,000 people that have liked it, who see what I do. And
not too shabby, man. Not too shabby.
No, not at all. And I post what's up today. I put up a post about, it was the anniversary of losing Eric Carr, which is horribly sad, but something that, it's been interesting. Every year there's always these anniversaries of great Kiss albums or something tragic like losing Eric, but I always want to, celebrate or be sure that people are aware of him. And what's remarkable about that Kiss history is the fact that many, many young fans jump aboard, just like you can be 10 years old and love the Beatles, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But you can be exposed to them in the same way you can be exposed to Kiss. So I love the fact that I've been part of a legendary band that keeps gaining new fans. So there's always a great way for them to share that love with me. A lot of the people, especially on Twitter, are young, that follow me. I'm shocked. But I love it. I think it's great.
It's a great way to keep up and keep in touch with your fans these days.
Exactly.
I love it as well.
Exactly.
Well, Bruce, thanks again for sharing a little of your life story with me today.
Sure.
It's been my absolute pleasure speaking with you.
No problem. I want to wish everybody a happy holiday season, okay? Be safe, be diligent, and go enjoy your life.
The 25th Hour Radio Show.